Hi guys, and welcome to a new video. 2025 marks a major shift for iRacing. With the creation of iRacing Studios, the company has grown from a simulation platform into a full-blown developer of racing games. Their upcoming slate includes NASCAR 25, IndyCar 2026, and iRacing Arcade. And they're doing all of that without taking their foot off the pedal on the core sim itself. In fact, they're pushing harder than ever, even making big progress in developing a whole new graphics engine. To understand what this expansion means, I sat down with iRacing's president and CFO, Tony Gardner, and digital media producer, Cisco Scaramuza. But before we get started, if you enjoy this type of content, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you want a lot more sim racing videos. To understand why iRacing is branching out, it's worth looking back at their growth. The company has steadily expanded its user base, staff, and resources, with the pandemic years offering a surge of quick growth.
We've been growing steady over the years. Some years were single-digit percentage growth, other years double-digit percentage growth. I think we're around 100,000 customers as COVID hit. And then COVID was obviously good for most game companies, including us. And I think that year we went from 100 to 180,000 customers, almost 200,000 customers. During that, as we came out of COVID, we were well over 200,000 customers. Now we're right around 350,000 active paying customers. I think when I started, we had something like 30 employees, and now we have over 250 employees, and most of them are on the iRacing side.
That growth meant more than just raw numbers. Retention, or the percentage of players sticking around, became the key measure of success.
Retention rate is a huge factor for us, because that means if people are renewing their subscriptions, that means to us that they're happy. We look at growth by country, by area, by niche, by racing niche. What are people doing on iRacing? We get data on what they're doing, how they're spending their time. Obviously we read all the forums, read all, Reddit and all the iRacing forums, and read social media and get that feedback as well. But compared to other companies and other subscription-based services, we do have a very high retention rate. So we're pretty proud of that, but it could be better, and that means a lot to us.
Yeah, no, that was great. That makes sense. And I think, iRacing is pretty addictive, so I can trust that you have a good retention rate. With a stable base, steady revenue, and a growing team, iRacing had the confidence to look beyond its flagship simulator. At the end of 2021, iRacing made two major acquisitions. The first one was Orantis Games, a German game developer known for their work on Exocross and building their very own proprietary game engine. Only a couple weeks later, iRacing announced the purchase of Monster Games, the studio behind the World of Outlaws series. These acquisitions quickly grew into a larger vision, and in July of 2025, iRacing Studios was born, serving as the umbrella for all of iRacing's projects.
We did iRacing Studios because I think it frankly started to get confusing. And when we started to launch these other products, I just think it became a good way to organize things a little bit better and make things a little bit easier to communicate in the long term, to have iRacing Studios. Since we now have multiple products, it was just getting confusing, honestly, between iRacing the company and iRacing the game, and what are you talking about? And I think it was a better way to present it and show that we're more than just iRacing, but we're about racing. So we have a studio of racing games that are under our portfolio, and it's another way to sort of describe the company, iRacing Studios.
It's really been amazing to bring in a lot of people from different parts of the video game industry. So we've had graphic designers come in with no racing game experience to help us with the graphics engine in iRacing, but also what is known as the Orantis engine, which is being used for the IndyCar game, working with the Unreal Engine for NASCAR 25. And all of this is paying off for us working on the new graphics engine for iRacing. So it's all just trying to expand our horizon in the people we're working with, but also use those lessons to make iRacing as a product itself better.
The move raised questions. Would these new games distract from the effort being put into the sim? Both Tony and Cisco insist that's not the case, and that the core iRacing team hasn't gotten smaller. In fact, it's bigger than ever, and the investments made into these new titles are already feeding back into iRacing itself, from graphics improvements to AI. The first big test of iRacing Studios is coming on October 14th with NASCAR 25. Developed by the Monster Games team, the title is built in Unreal Engine and aims to be the most complete NASCAR game in years.
The World of Outlaws franchise that were released in 2022 with follow-up games. That was on the Unity engine. Rontes has their own engine that they built from scratch. iRacing is also upgrading their renderer, their graphics engine, but we just decided the future was better for us on the Unreal Engine. It was a lot of work moving. There's a lot of risk moving your entire engine. So we're happy that's done. And that was a big part of the 2 years of work was moving from the Unity engine to the Unreal Engine for all the assets that the Monster Game guys have, and integrating it also with iRacing, so we could just sort of seamlessly bring content from iRacing into that engine, the cars and tracks. So we're happy with how it came out. We think it looks great, and there's pros and cons to everything, but that was the right choice for that game and for where we wanted to go.
After watching some recent gameplay videos, the game visually looks great and is going to be much more accessible for any type of player. You can get in and do a quick race, season, or the career mode, which I think will be the big draw of this game, something akin to the F1 game's career mode, where you can manage driver contracts, upgrade your facility and staff, and things like that. The AI looks to be very well done too. iRacing's AI won't be used here. Instead, they'll take advantage of the Monster Games AI that they've been developing for the past 20 years and use on the World of Outlaws games.
We did help them with a lot of the production of the AI, and we share ideas. So that's great. So we now have like a team of AI engineers from the different studios, and they can all get on the phone and talk, best practices and things like that. But that's essentially their own AI. It's not the iRacing AI that was used. It's pretty sophisticated, and they have some great tools that they built around it. So the decision was just to stick with that.
However, Tony confirmed that iRacing's AI will be used on the IndyCar game. Accessibility is key. As Cisco explains, the goal is for NASCAR 25 to work whether you're on a controller or a full sim rig without being overwhelming.
It's similar to what we did with the World of Outlaws games, where, it's a console title, but at the same time, we're introducing as much realism as we can, but we don't want to make it impossible to play on a controller at the same time. The idea is we want it to be as accessible as possible to get in front of as many people as possible. So controller is always going to be first for something like that. But at the same time, wheel players are going to, I think, also have a lot of fun with that. And honestly, some of my favorite games growing up that I played were not simulators, but I played it on a wheel or something like that for a console. You don't need to have the ultra realistic every possible thing being taken into account. But at the same time, we're going to try and include as much of that as we can. It's a whole 10-year plan, and we're going to continue to grow the product and try and, as much as we can get out of the engine and everything that we can do, we're going to try and do. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like it's a bit of a different product, kind of the same as the other ones. Like, you'll still have what you're getting with iRacing, that's very competitive, that's very realistic, like pushing to the limits of like the physics of the cars, and then you're gonna get something still realistic, but maybe a little bit more laid back.
Yeah, a little bit more laid back, more approachable. That's kind of the biggest thing, is that we want something that you could just sit down on the couch and play, and you don't have to worry about, and if you want to, spend time practicing and working with the setups and stuff like that, you can absolutely do that. And spend time figuring out to be super fast in the game. You can absolutely do that. None of that's going away. But at the same time, we also want people to just sit down on the couch and be able to play it as soon as they get home from work.
For iRacing, NASCAR 25 could serve as the bridge to a much bigger audience. The second big title under iRacing Studios is IndyCar 2026, led by the Orantes team. So I know it's still pretty far from release. I understand it's second half of 2026. But can you share any details about the development so far?
Yeah, it's coming along really well, and usually you don't say this, but we're ahead of schedule. But it's still definitely back half of 2026. It's in some way, it's already a functioning game. Again, it's nice to have the iRacing assets that we can just import. We still have some tracks to do, just like a NASCAR 25, to refresh some tracks, even build some new tracks specific to IndyCar. But we just released, the Dallara IR15 on iRacing. No surprise that's being brought into the game. The career mode is in full design and being, the UI is being worked on. We have some great engineers. It's a dedicated team focused on that game. Just like NASCAR 25, there's a dedicated team. There's a dedicated team focused on the IndyCar game. We plan on being a robust full game with multiplayer career mode, multiple series. It's super exciting to us. It looks great. That graphics engine is great and very modern, and we're excited how it's coming out so far.
And is it leaning more towards something like hyper-realistic like iRacing, or is it more like accessible like NASCAR 25?
Yeah, definitely more like NASCAR 25, more accessible. The focus will be, game pads, controllers, Xbox, PlayStation, but it'll work. It'll be working on the wheels. It will be on Steam. It will be on Steambox. It will be on PlayStation and Xbox. We want full realism. It's going to include all the teams and the drivers. I shouldn't say all, but most of them, or possibly all of them. And realism will be a cornerstone, but we also want it to be approachable for somebody that's new to sim racing or racing. But also it's going to be fun for somebody that's a pro sim racer. So that's the goal, is to make it accessible to everybody.
Cisco points out the excitement around this project inside iRacing and beyond.
The team, it's led by Paul Coleman, who's been around in the industry for a long time, came out of the rally games of the 2000s and the 2010s, and his Rolodex of people that he's worked with and his knowledge of just racing games in general is amazing. And I know they're all excited to be able to sink their teeth into a property like this. TK's been a big supporter of ours for a long time, and he's excited about it. We have Scott McLaughlin helping with a lot of kind of the driver side and his driver input. So he's looking forward to it, and we're excited.
The third project under iRacing Studios is a very different beast, iRacing Arcade. Built in collaboration with Original Fire Games, the developers behind Circuit Superstars and Karting Superstars. This is iRacing's most casual title yet, designed for short sessions and pick up and play fun.
We partnered with them to build iRacing Arcade. They're tremendous to work with, they're super talented, and we've helped them build up that group. We've also helped them with a lot of assets, licensing, for example. We bring that to the table, and also helping them with the tech. For example, in Circuit Superstars, the multiplayer wasn't all that great, and so we were able to get our multiplayer guys to help them bring that to the next level. Things like, it's just an example. Everyone that plays it just has a huge smile on their face. The game is close to being done for Steam, so it's just a matter of picking a launch date. It'll be this year. It's super fun. Kids are going to have fun with it. Adults are going to have fun with it, playing with their kids or just playing on their own. And again, just trying to reach a different audience, and hopefully someday people might try iRacing or try one of the other games that tried iRacing Arcade.
Yeah, I'm really excited to try it out.
I think you'll be smiling when you're playing it. Everyone else has been. So.
And it'll be less stressful than iRacing.
Yeah, it's the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right, exactly. While it's not meant as a funnel into the core iRacing sim, both Tony and Cisco admit there is overlap. Someone who discovers racing through arcade might one day graduate to iRacing.
We hope that's the case, but it's not really this master plan. Like, let's have them go do this, and then they'll be right. And then like try to get them addicted to iRacing it. But we hope that happens. But that wasn't really the intention. The intention was really we're really just trying to create great racing games. I think one will definitely lead to the other. In some cases it won't, but it's not really this master plan, like to funnel them through and manipulate people through some sort of funnel of games. But I hope that happens to some degree, and I think it will.
I think it's always good to have different ways of entry, right? Because not everybody immediately thinks, oh, I want to be a sim racer. But if you have a way to start somewhere and then you get access to everything else and you can see what makes the most sense for you. I think it's a great idea to have, something a little bit more, relaxed.
Yeah, you just said it much better than I did, so that's exactly it. So.
One of the biggest racing games in the world is Mario Kart. And obviously we're not going to pull the April Fool's joke and send iRacing to mobile or anything like that. But we still want to be able to bring people into the community and bring people into our ecosystem and be like, hey, we want to be able to show them Porsches and Imola and stuff like that and what we've shown, and be able to bring that to a new generation, to a younger generation. Be like, hey, motorsports is awesome. You should try this out and play this game and then go to a race and get involved in it, because it's such an amazing sport. It's such an amazing environment to be around.
Even as iRacing Studios expands outward, the core team is still evolving at a rapid pace. The 2025 Season 4 update is one of the biggest yet, with new cars, a world-famous track, a GT4 class revamp, and a massive overhaul of the in-game UI, which was in the works for 2 years.
That's been a project going for a while now. I mean, I remember concepts going back a couple years now, and they've been working on it. And those of you who have watched kind of how we've morphed the UI, as we called it, the front end UI, so how you sign up for a race and everything like that. By moving to that, it allowed us to be able to start to add things and be able to add things that we never would have been able to beforehand. And that's really the goal with the UI going into the product, is now we're going to be able to add stuff that was maybe only possible with add-ons, or stuff that wasn't even we thought possible that we could show. Ultimately, it's us moving onto a canvas that we can continue to work and build for the next 5, 10, 20, 50, however many years, and continue to build things onto that platform. I've spent a lot of time with them on the camera tool. So a lot of the, so Control F12, where you can move the camera around and do all that sort of stuff. A lot of work went into sort of making that a lot more approachable. We just want to be able to have something that we can start to build on again and make it modern and new and not be scary.
I really like it. I think it works well. I think it's a great improvement over the past one, but can you tell me what has been the feedback overall since it's been implemented?
Yeah, I think it has been great. Personally, I went a little ways without looking at it, honestly, because I'm so busy doing other things. It's not my job. It's not QA. So I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is so, I hadn't looked at it in a while. I was like, this is so much better. So I can't believe there's even any negative feedback. But I think people just, you get so used to doing something and you don't like change. So I get it. Like, you're like, oh, I knew how to do this before, and now I have to take 10 minutes to figure out how to do what I used to do. And nobody likes that. So I get that. But I think, like, for new people coming in, if you looked at the new UI and the old UI, if you had never seen it before, you would like the new UI way better. Right. And that's a feed. And I think people are like, oh, I didn't like it at first, but then after 2 days, like, oh, now I see. And I hope people will see like the vision of it. Like I can when I look at it, like you can see where we're going with it, which is the other exciting thing. Like the old platform, we really couldn't do much with it. It was really ancient technology. And now with this new platform, we can do so much more with it. We can do some really cool stuff that will be coming out, in the next months and years. So
Tony echoes that commitment to continuous updates, pointing to the long-term projects behind the scenes. Updates like this happen all the time, right? With iRacing, that's never going to stop, is it?
No, it's been going on for, 20 years. 4 times a year, we do an update and improve the sim, add content, upgrade content. So that's going to continue. In fact, I hope people notice it's even happening at a greater rate than it did 10 years ago. We have more people working on the iRacing platform than ever, and it's all about the people. We have some really smart people working on it, and we're the last 2 or 3 years, we brought in some unbelievable engineers. And you're starting to see the impact of that.
Recently, there have been game-changing updates with the addition of rain last year, things like debris refresh and tire model updates, and now the new UI. And there is no sign of that slowing down. In fact, iRacing is already hard at work on the next game-altering update, a completely new graphics engine.
The big project in the background now is an brand new rendering engine, graphics engine that we have a big group of super smart people working on, but it's a big project. So that's another big thing in the pipeline. But we're improving the existing graphics engine, which is work as we work on this whole new graphics engine. So we're doing both at once, which slows us down a little bit, but we think it's the right thing to do, not to just sort of ignore the existing graphics engine as we build out the new one. So we've been doing both, and I think that was the right thing to do. And I've been watching these broadcasts, and it's looking better than ever. And I was like, I can't imagine how great this is going to look when the new graphics engine comes out. It looks really good, so much better than it did a few years ago.
And do you have a timeline on that, on the new one?
Not really. We're making great progress. I could see us putting it out and keeping the old graphics engine, because it reaches so much, and you kind of don't know what you might be taking away from from people. So I could see us putting it out as a beta and having the old and the new graphics engine out there. Like it defaults to the old, and then people go try the new one and give us feedback. And I could see that happening. I'm not saying that will happen, and I could see that happening. I'm not going to give you a time frame, but it's not that long away. It's not that far away. It's not years and years away. I could see that happening fairly soon. I know that it's the old hashtag soon iRacing joke, but it won't be in the next 12 months though. I don't think, just to set expectations.
Oh no, that's good to know. I think a lot of people are going to be happy to hear that, even if it's another year or so. Knowing that you've been improving the current one, I don't think everyone would be mad about waiting for the completely new engine. It seems to me iRacing has found the perfect balance. Expand the brand with new titles, but keep the flagship sim improving year after year. For existing iRacers, it's proof the studio isn't putting them on the back burner, but instead, they're doubling down. iRacing isn't expanding into an empty market. The sim racing and racing game landscape is more crowded than ever, with titles like Le Mans Ultimate, Assetto Corsa Evo, Rennsport, which just announced a November 13th release date, and the upcoming Project Motor Racing pushing hard for attention. So how does iRacing Studios view the competition?
No, I think it's a healthy thing. A lot of, especially the hardcore sim racers, I think they try everything, and some of them play more than one. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I think the bigger the market is, the more people buy wheel and pedal sets. They might play with these other games, buy a wheel and pedal set, and then come try iRacing. We've already taken away a barrier to entry. Now they, say it's a $400 wheel and pedal set or $800. They've already taken away a big barrier to entry. Now they might be more apt to try iRacing. So we always look at it like this: good, there's other games out there. I talk to a lot of the other game companies, and we have a good relationship with most of them. Yet we are competitors, and I think that drives us all. It can take away from your business, but also, like I said, it can also help. I think we all also have our different niches. We all have our own strengths and weaknesses too. So I think it's good. I think it's good for sim racers to keep the whole market vibrant and strong.
To really understand this moment, it's worth remembering where it all started.
I'm David Kemmer. I'm the CEO and CTO of iRacing.com.
In 1987, Dave Kamer co-founded Papyrus Design Studios, and 2 years later released Indianapolis 500, the simulation. In 1994, Papyrus shipped NASCAR Racing. The DNA of modern sim racing runs through those games, and it's all about to happen again 35 years later. Looking back at iRacing's early days, there were some huge risks. Dave told me the biggest gamble was the subscription model. They were worried about launching without AI opponents and going with multiplayer only, but he explained to me that they knew they would not be able to develop a real simulator funded by the game market financial model, so they had to take that leap of faith. Dave knew they would have to create something that was so good that they could charge more for it. That persistence is exactly what carried David Kamer and iRacing to where they are today. Inside iRacing Studios, excitement is high. Dave told me that everybody at iRacing is super excited about the launch of these new titles, and that they are pinching themselves to know that they get to work with these huge brands such as NASCAR and IndyCar. So what's next? Could we ever see iRacing Studios grow large enough to take on Goliaths like EA and fight for massive licenses like F1 and WRC? How insane would it be to one day see iRacing make the next official F1 game?
Yeah, I think that that would be great, but I think that's overly ambitious probably. Who knows? But right now, I think we would probably collapse from stress if we tried to do all that. But those are great brands, and we do talk to groups like that. It would be great to have something more European focused as a standalone game, for sure. We would love to do that. Europe's a huge market for us, a very important market for us, and on the iRacing side, we've really focused on that. The games themselves are complicated enough. They are complicated, hard to build. So I know it's simple, but that's our strategy, is just to build the best racing games we can. Everything else kind of takes care of itself if you do that. That's kind of what we believe.
From its humble beginnings in 2008 to a global studio in 2025, iRacing is no longer just iRacing. It's an ecosystem of racing experiences, from consoles to PC, from hardcore to casual. And whether you're chasing an iRating in the flagship sim, diving into a full NASCAR career, or sitting down with friends for a quick arcade session, one thing is clear: the future of iRacing is bigger, broader, and more exciting than ever.